Subsequently, the main portions of this book was written for my doctorate thesis on the subject of metaphysics about 10 years ago, in 1998. The Ceph books by Jane Roberts were written in the 1960s and published later, yet the relevance of the material is timeless. The title of this chapter is to express what things I have learned and changes that have come about. Not changes in the works in this book, but in the advancement of scientific theory that coincides with what I have presented and to the information Ceph gave. In addition, you will find that the information is nothing new, though its presentation is in many forms. This is due to many factors, mainly that we are all individuals, and each of us may come across the information one way and it not make sense, but in another way it will. Though when you take away any trappings, the information is the same. I had hoped to put this work together in a more scientific fashion, as that is the thinking in today's Western world. I consider myself intelligent and of decent education. Though my path to understanding has been my own, there are others who far exceed me in credentials and intellect. So if you don't take what I have presented here as having validity, then maybe you will consider other views you may accept. In Chapter 2, I discussed the work that detected something by use of electrodes hooked up to a plant. When I wrote the book, it seemed clear that this, quote, something was still an unknown to me, but now believe this something to be consciousness itself. I have in this book mentioned that emotions were metaphysical. At the time I did not know in what way this emotional energy is used or how it operated. I have come to some understanding about this and now consider emotions to be what we can call the polarity of thoughts. In this we can see the associational properties at work, and that like thoughts would have a similar emotional counterpart that acts to attract or repel. In science we like to think of only two forces of opposites, either attraction or repulsion. But with emotions there may be more than two, and all the interactions would then be a bit more complex. Still, thinking in scientific terms, some may get the meaning I am trying to express. I wish to bring up are the advancements in the string theory. This has went through several stages, with first some debate that ended up dividing it into 5 camps of thought. Then M-theory came to light and seemed to calm this down. It is now the superstring theory, and still more is going on to see the validity of these theories. Within these theories, the number of dimensions has increased to about 10. Other dimensions fits with the Ceph view, and the fact that there are dimensions out of time and probabilities comes even closer. I can in no way give all the information that has been obtained within the quantum field here, but the correlations between the quantum world and consciousness has been made. Dr. John Hegelin, Ph.D., is one of these persons whose credentials and education far surpass mine. His theories of the unified field and the work has made this correlation of conscious and physical reality clearer to the hardcore scientific community. I would like to also mention here the advent to transcendental meditation. Though with some of my statements on the subject within this book you may have the idea I do not believe in it, far to the opposite. What I gave in this book was a glimpse, but that was still the method we used. It's to show on the easiest level you can do this meditation, and I would encourage you to find out more about it as the benefits are far-reaching. I brought this up now as Dr. Hegelin also promotes this study and the good it can do for anyone. I will here give you some more prominent persons that see this connection, though this list may be far from complete. Amit Goswami, Ph.D., on Quantum Physics and Consciousness. Stuart Hameroff, M.D., goes through a wide array of quantum mind concepts. Deepak Chopra, M.D., The Connection of Quantum Mechanics and Consciousness. William A. Tiller, Ph.D., Consciousness and its Relationships to Physics. Fred Allen Wolf, Doctor, Something from Nothing. John Hegelin, Ph.D., Consciousness and Superstring Unified Field Theory. Dean Radin, Ph.D., Quantum Physics and the Mind-Matter Interface. Tom Campbell, My Big Theory of Everything. These individuals and others have come to some understanding and conclusions, and are excellent points to study. I encourage you to look them up and see for yourself. When I wrote this book as a thesis, I did not know any of their works. Then again, my main body of the study comes from the Seth works, and I am only too pleased to see that science is getting some verification. Still, the best verification for you is, as I have said, your personal experience. The one thing I do wish to point out is that it all comes back to one source, that being called unified field, universal consciousness, cosmic energy, all it is, or God. I will end this section and the book with a last exercise. There are two things that we as humans have a hard, if not impossible, time imagining. The first is infinity. We like to put a number and a limit on things, as that is the makeup of our physical ego level of focus in this reality. We have a hard time thinking that there could not be an end. We want to limit the number of things to work with. Even within our own universe, we want to say it is only so big. But here, when we look out and think of all the staggering numbers of things within it, just count the atoms, we start to get lost and try to put a cap on it. I say this as we somehow think in those terms and say there is not enough room for more. And yet, even looking at the universe we live in, we can see the fact as we look further into it. Going the other way lets us bring up the concept of nothing. I am not talking here about empty space, but the true idea of nothingness, not existing. Close your eyes and try to imagine a universe of nothing. This can be as hard as imagining infinity, but concentrate on the idea of what non-existence would be like, true nothingness. If you have to imagine space, I can understand that. So you may have imagined a universe of totally empty space, with nothing in it. When you get this idea of what a universe of nothingness may be like, open your eyes and read on. In this exercise, we can come to some comprehensions. One is, you do exist, as to the contrast of non-existence. I make this statement because it is self-evident and it is the most fundamental idea of reality. The next has to do with our experiment. In it, if you imagine an empty universe with nothing in it, you failed. There was at least one thing within your nothing universe, and that was your conscious observation of it. You were in it on that level. This is some idea you may have to think about for a bit to get the meaning I am trying to get across. What it comes down to is that non-existence simply does not exist. I end my book with that statement for you to think about in the true nature of a philosophy book.